All right, you've seen these two people before with their eyes and everything, but you know. So when we start laying out this whole person, thing to do is kind of decide how wide your head's going to be, and your stick is pretty well defined, but you got to think ahead. Am I going to put hair on the side of this person? Am I going to have ears? You know, how wide is that face going to be? And really, I go back to Jack Ham, and Jack just lays out the face 5 eyes wide, but he doesn't include the hair and he doesn't include the ears. So it's just a basic face. So just gives you an idea, proportion-wise, how big your eye is going to be. If you're doing a whole head and you're doing, you know, front, side, everything, it's not a circle, it's really an oval. So the height of the face is about one, and these magic numbers, 1.5 and 1/2, they just keep showing up everywhere. But the height of the face is about 1.5 times as it is wide. That gives it the oval shape. So once you know how wide your face is, you can kind of go, well, this is going to be about the height for most human beings. That'll help you define that. Another key thing are your ears. So without looking at the chart, I said, where are your ears relative to your eyes and your nose? Well, you look at your neighbor, go. But it's amazing, but your ears start right here at eye level, and they go down to the bottom of your nose. You can look at your neighbor if you don't believe me. But so that, if you're laying out ears, that will help give you an idea of where they're going to fall. The other thing that's nice is that your head, your ears, and the jaw are right here at about the 50% line from the front to the back. So if you're sketching in a jaw and you want to know where does that break, you know, you're coming back and then you break up right here. It's going to break right in front of your ears, and that's about halfway from the front to the back of your head. So these are the mathematical relationships that I loved as an engineer, because the other thing is that your eyes are about halfway down the length of your head. So, you know, you may start a face and you have your eyes way the hell up here. Well, that ain't right, okay? You got your head, you got your eyes right at the middle. So when you lay out your head, you can go, okay, well, I want the eyes to be about here, right? The key thing that we'll have that we've got to watch today is, you know, the eyes being about halfway down the head, and then the general relationships that we talked about yesterday with the relationship 5 eyes, 1 eye between each eye. That's the width of the nose, basically. The width of the mouth being 2 eyes wide, 1 eye here in the middle, and then it comes basically down to the center of the other 2 eyes. So that's half, 1 1/2, 2. 2 eyes wide. And that'll help you lay out. Thing that always got me when I started doing this was I'd read one guy and he'd say, okay, you know, this is a third, a third, a third. The next guy is a fifth, a fifth, a fifth. I'm going, oh God, is it a third, is it a fifth? It's 60%, not 50. It's kind of like 80 degrees versus 110, you know. I thought, screw that. I'm just going to go, I'm going by Jack Ham. I don't care what the rest of you guys do. So there's my pretty lady again, and I'm using her eyes. If you go from the corner of your eye to your corner of your eye, and an equilateral triangle, which means all sides are equal, you drop that down, that'll tell you where the bottom lip is. Whether you want to use that on today's carving, that's up to you. Depends how much of a feature, you know, if you're doing a mustache and a beard, but usually you'll see a bottom lip and that'll tell you where it goes. The other thing that we lay out is going from the eyes to the bottom of the chin. You divide it into 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the nose is laying in here at about 40%. You know, her nose is about 42, but nobody's going to say 42 versus 40. And then the lips are down here at about 60. And then the cleft of your chin, you get this cleft down below your lips, that's about 80, and then it brings you down to the bottom. So all these relationships will really help you lay out all the features on your face. And as we go through it, I'll try to mention them again so that we keep it in perspective. Over there was showing the nose half off the face, half on the face, and that comes about when you do the mouth barrel in here, and when you do this wing cut on the nose, that helps push that part of your face back so that your nose is on the face. So, and this is that upper, I don't know what part of the eye you call this, but very difficult to get on the females. But we had all that, and then you got to kind of make this a rounded approach to fair into the eyebrow. So notice how gentle her forehead goes back. So this is another good reference for defining where the nose and where the corners of the mouth are going to go. You know, I said from corner of the eye to corner of the eye, equilateral, that'll set up your lips. We also know that the lips, or the mouth, is 2 eyes wide, so it goes from the center of that one to the center of that one. So then if I kind of connect a line between there, corner of the eye and the mouth, corner of the eye and the mouth, it will pretty well locate. And if you don't believe me, take a picture of yourself. You go home and try all these principles. I think you'll be amazed. I mean, I am. Every time I cut out a picture out of a magazine and do this, I go, it can't be. It's pretty darn close. So, things I just said, the distance from the eyes to the chin, you divide it in a fifth. The nose is about 40%, mouth's about 60%. Corners of the mouth line up with the centers of the eye, because it's 2 eyes wide. And then that principle there for locating a nose. So, okay, next chart. This is just another one trying to illustrate the same principle. It took her from the eye, and I hedged a little bit, but basically from the eyes to the chin, divided it into fifths. Nose here at 40, mouth at 60, cleft to the chin at about 80. So. And we've seen this chart just, you know, depending on which individual you're carving and where they're from, facial features will vary widely. Size of the nose, the same principles are everywhere. If you look at all these people, I mean, the eyes are going to be halfway down between the top of the head and the bottom of the head. And if I go from here to the nose, I can line up the corners of the mouth. I can do the equilateral triangle from here to here to here. The eyes defining the width of the nose, pretty much. I mean, you may get into some people that have a wider nose. My Santa Clauses have a wider nose. I don't care what it's supposed to be, it's what I want it to be. It's a caricature, and so you can always emphasize those. Some people make big hands, but just another, same general principles. You can lay these guys out same general way. Okay. So, we'll start the face carving. I would leave about 4 inches, you know, so just give yourself about 4 inches of wood up here where you're going to put the face. I mean, that's going to be the bottom of my face. So if I were to do 3 of them on the stick, I would have it divided up, something like that. I'm not making a cut there right now, I'm just saying, you know. But that tells me how long I want everything to be. So when I look at this now, I'm going to say, okay, so I know about how wide my face is going to be. How long is the face? Face is going to be what? Probably 2 inches long, something like that. I leave room up at the top for a hat, a hair, anything like that we got going. So that's that. Maybe the head will start in here, so the head is going to be something like Yahoo. That's about where the face is going to be. If I wanted to put an ear on, I'd do that. If I'm doing my Santa Claus and all that, I may have tassel coming down here with the ball. So let's just say that it's going to be something like that, because all I want to do right now is, you know, I'm going to lay in my eyes. So I just want room from my eyes to the top of the head so that I can put in a forehead, I can put in a hat with trim or whatever I want to put in and go that way. So I'm just saying face is going to be somewhere about that. Given room, I'm going to start my eye channel somewhere about like that. This is my chin. If I'm doing a Santa Claus, then he's going to have a beard that comes down and terminates there. But right now I'm just trying to establish where do I want my eye channel to go. You should be establishing your eye channel. You got your eye channels? So you know how wide your stick is. You got an idea on how wide your face is. So dividing that into 5 pieces, kind of guess where your eye, the width of your eyes. And so, you know, if I sketch in my eyes sort of like that, I've got side of the face is over here and I've got some hair. So I got one eye here, I got 2 eyes, between them I got 3, here's an eye, 4, and I got an eye out here, there's 5. So that's about where my eyes are going to go. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes wide. I'll just kind of make a little bigger marks because I'm going to carve that eye channel in there and those marks will disappear. So just like yesterday, we're going to set that eye channel in. Like we did when we when we did the nose. When we did the nose, we cut in the eye channel, and that's going from here across. It's not just a little bitty one. Go clear across. And that's when I make my stop cuts in from the top and the bottom. And I say it's 110. So I'm making that stop cut on the top and the bottom, opening up an eye channel. So we're opening this up to kind of define where the eyes are going to go. We may cut more of that wood away as we start shaping the face. This is only kind of blocking it in. And it's giving us a target, so when we start doing that front taper on the nose, we know where we're going to go. So once you get there, does everybody feel pretty good that they're close? If you need more time, let me know. You kind of put your marks on there where your eyes are going to be located. You should have a couple lines here that says, okay, that's going to be the width of my nose. So now you need to kind of decide how long your nose is going to be. You remember yesterday, general rule of thumb, about 1.5 times the width is the length of your nose. So you can use that to kind of start sizing things up. Make it a little bit longer than shorter, but go ahead and define where you want the bottom of the nose to be. I just kind of sketch that in where you got the bottom of the nose. Then you go ahead and make that stop cut right there at the bottom of it. Take out some of the wood down below so that you end up with your triangle. And you can take wood on down. It's going to be part of the chin and beard and whatever down there. It's not going to be peaky. You're going to have to round that up sooner or later. So if it's easier to carve, make some room, round that stick up. If you go deep enough, you got a pretty good size nose. If your nose looks like that, looks like they ran into a door. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run that taper. We're going to go from the tip of the nose up to the eye channel. So we're going to put a slope on the nose. Just a straight taper, unless you want to put in a double jointed nose or a boxer or something that looks like they got hit. But now when I look at it from the side, I should have a profile. Going back to the nose stick and what we had, we established the channel, we established the bottom of the nose, we established the taper, so we're really at that step right there, okay? Channel, bottom, taper from the tip of the nose up to the brow. All right, so now we're going to go back to looking at the nose from the front. You've established what one eye wide is up there. That's kind of the distance. Now that's not, if you look at me for reference. So my nose is one eye wide down here. It's certainly not one eye wide up here. But there is one eye between this eye and this eye, right? So you don't want the bridge of your nose to go to 0. So when you make these cuts up the side, don't make them go in completely to a point. Leave you some wood in here so that you've got a bridge on your nose. But they do go up to that eye socket. So there is some material that tapers down from the very center here down to the eye. So you want to leave that wood in there. So when you go up, you're going right here to this eye. You're going to lift it and cut it out. And the reason we cut it out is because we want the eye to wrap in. We want the inside of the eye to be deeper than the center of the eye, right? Okay, so I'm going to go up. I'm going to leave a good chunk of wood down here at the bottom for the wings. I'm starting above the wing. I'm going to go in. I'm going to go into that eye channel, lift the gouge. I can make a little circular cut and pop that out. So I start above the wing. I know where my target is. I go up there at about a 20-degree angle, lift that gouge, and take out some of the wood. And that's so this eye can now wrap around and into that socket. That is taking the nose and taking it up away from the cheek. And you want to make a fairly good cut there because you want that nose to be proud of where the cheek material is. So. You got those sharp edges from the gouge cuts. You can take that cheek back a little bit. Just kind of smooth out that rough cut. I'm just smoothing up those marks right there that from the gouge that went in. All right, I'm going to go back to the nose stick. So we made all those cuts. We come down here, we ran up the side of the nose with our gouge. We went into the eye channel. And now what I ask you to do is just kind of blend those in a little bit. You can kind of shape the bridge of the nose right in here. You should have some sharp lines from the gouge. Just take your knife and kind of smooth that off a little bit, blend it in. You're not taking a lot of wood off that cheek. You're just smoothing things up from your cuts. This is where at the bottom of the nose, I just make a slight angled cut so that, we wanted this septum, this piece of cartilage right here in the middle, so I can see it no matter whether I look at you from the side, whether your nose is flat, no matter the shape of your nostril. So I just take a little bit off the bottom there at a slight angle on both sides, keeping it symmetrical, so that when I look at it from the side, I can see that center line once I cut the nostrils in. So just a slight angle cut, bang, bang on both sides. All right, so right now you should have a bird's beak type nose, very pointed on the end. Just slight cut on the end, kind of rounding that up a little bit so that it's not such a bird's beak. You're kind of making a little ball on the tip of the nose. Just taking off a little bit of wood. Make it a little more friendly. All right, so now we're gonna put in the wings. Going back to this step right here. If you remember, this is where we put our gouge in. We do the gouge upside down, and we do what? We press out. We don't go straight in. You kind of know where you want the wings, but you can always bring them back. So when I make my cut, and I'm establishing a wing, I don't go straight in. I lay my gouge sideways, and I push outboard. And that way I can bring it back if I want to make them smaller as I go, okay? So set your wings on both sides. Set that gouge in there, so it depends on the size of your nose. Now, you can kind of sketch in where you want your wings to be. They're going to be on like the last third of your nose. So it depends on how big your nose is, the curvature of the gouge that you're going to use. I've found over the years that 90% of my caricatures use and love this Harmon tool. It's about a number 7, 1/4 inch wide. When you do your wings, look at your carving and try to get them symmetrical. Just set that cut in first. So once I made that push-in cut, then I just come on the back side of it with the gouge. It's got the same profile, and it takes out that little chunk of wood. Do that on both sides. And with the curvature of the gouge that I use, it curves around enough that it establishes the top of the wing, with that cut right up there. And then that goes right into the gouge cut that we made going into the eye socket. And if I look at it and I think it's too wide, I just take my gouge and upside down and say, okay, I'll make it not quite so wide. That helps me get it from left to right too. The next thing we did was establish these lifelines, the smile lines. And the way we did that was we estimated the width of the mouth and where the mouth was going to be. You don't have to have the mouth vertically, but remember the mouth is going to be 2 eyes wide. So you can tell where your eyes are up above if you want to kind of sketch that down. You got one in the middle and then you go half eye on each side. That's 2. That'll give you the width of the mouth. And the reason we have that is these smile lines come out and they head out toward the corner of your mouth. So this line right in here, it's going from the top of the wing. We're going to make that straight cut. Top of the wing, around the wing, underneath the nose. Both sides, top of the wing, around, bottom of the nose. And we're going to come in from the top of the wing and we're going to make that left line. It goes out toward the corner of the mouth, this one. And then you're going to take that little wedge out that you created there, the little triangle, and it's going to help establish the mouth barrel. If you take your face now and you go from the eyes to where you establish the chin, wherever you got a chin, divide that into 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. You go like that. I'm making that straight in cut on the top of the wing, coming around the wing, underneath the nose, good deep stop cut. Clear up to the center. Same thing on the other side. Top of the wing, good deep stop cut. Around the wing, around the bottom, clear up to the center. Coming in above the wing, stop cut, coming around, putting in that lifeline. Taking that out and taking out a little wedge right down there below. It should be a chip that just comes right out if you've got the lifeline in. You got the stop cut around the wing. That little triangular wedge will pop right out and help establish the mouth barrel. Then you can take some of this wood out down below your nose and kind of shape a roundness to it to shape in the mouth barrel. Mouth barrel being, you know, your teeth and everything, so you got quite a bit of curvature there. This is too peaky. It's it's going to have to be a forehead or a hat or something like that. It's going to have to be rounded. So just to release your frustrations, take off, a good point of those peaks and round it over, much like you rounded it over for the eye yesterday. But just get rid of that peak and give yourself some curvature. And if you're thinking about putting on a hat or hair, anything like that, you can round over the top of your blank too, just to give it some shape. Kind of feels good to move wood without worrying about what the heck you're cutting, right? So at this point, you ought to be thinking about, are you going to put a mustache on this character, or is it going to be just mouth, or anybody have preferences? You want to try a mouth?
Yeah.
And try a mouth? Okay, so you go ahead and let's clean up. Thank you. We'll clean up this mouth barrel and just give it some roundness. You may want to take a little bit of the wood, shave it off, make your nose a little bit prouder of the face, cut in down below there. So as we cut this wood, when you look at the face from the side, we'll handle the forehead in a little bit when we get to the eyes. But if we're looking at the mouth, your mouth is set behind the nose, so it's not in front of the nose. The only time you get that is if, like I said, you're doing witches or something like that, some bizarre stuff. But your face is basically, the nose is farthest out, slopes back to your forehead, slopes down to your chin. So you can take this wood away so that the mouth is going to be behind the nose. So if I look at mine right now and I put my mouth in here, it's a little bit behind the nose, but not much. So I'm going to go ahead and take away some more material down here, just so I've got a curvature to the front of the face that I want, which is basically back from behind, or back from the front. So it's not as far out as the nose. All the time keeping it rounded in there, because this is the mouth barrel. Okay, let me just ask you this now. So you want to do a full mouth or just lower lip below mustache? So if you want a mustache, go ahead and sketch it in where you're going to put it. I just sketched the mouth back in there where I'm going to put it. But if you want to do a mustache, go ahead and sketch that in. It can, most any shape. Usually the mustache will cover the upper lip, so then all I do is come in here, sketch in this lower lip and make a stop. You got me, Steve, yeah. Stop cut right there. Take a little bit of the wood out down below it. And then I will typically make a cut at the bottom of the mustache just to show a little bit of shadow for the lower lip. Once you get your mustache established and you get that lower lip carved in there, this area right down here in the cleft of your chin, it's usually, it's like a curved area, believe it or not. So what I do is come back with a gouge and I'll take that wood out down below that lower lip with the gouge in kind of a curved motion that will really establish the cleft of the chin. And you want to set that, when you do that lower lip, you want it to go up and under the mustache because it will be tucked in underneath there. So for the heck of it, I want to show you a quick mouth. This is where I've got the mouth sketched in. 2 eyes wide, so it looks like that. I've got the mouth barrel pretty well established. It's rounded side to side. It's behind the nose, so I've got an angle going here back to where the chin would be. If I want to give him a little bit of a smile, like when I carved this guy, I did it kind of a two-part mouth. On one side I carved it up so it looked like he's smiling. If you can see, this side coves down like he's having a bad day. So if I just look at one half of his face, he's got a frown on his face, and then on the other side I carved it up so he looks like he's a little bit happier person. So depending on how you do your face can tell you which way his attitude's going to go. I'll put a little bit of a smile on this person. Here's where my mouth is going to go. I just make a stop cut from corner to corner. Then on that upper lip, I come back with basically kind of like 3-part cuts. Shallow cut. If you're doing the female, you're going to want fuller lips, and you got to work on those. And on the guy, same thing on the bottom. I'll just do the angle cuts. Start that bottom lip. It's going to look like that, and this is where I then come in with my gouge, and I will just cut underneath that lower lip, and I will tuck that lower lip underneath the upper lip on the sides. And I can come back and give a little bit of roundness to it because it's flat. Same thing here, right here in these corners. You can just take out a little chunk of wood to help that bottom lip tuck back in under there. The other thing you want to do is, we talked about the septum on the nose, that's this piece of cartilage. The other thing that you got if you don't have a mustache and cover it up is this little snot trough or philtrum right in here. It's this little indent right below your nose. So you want to make sure you put that in your carving. Now I'll use this one. So you just got that going from the upper lip right up to the center line of your nose. Just this little cut, gouge cut right in there to cover up the top of the mouth barrel right into the nose. That's a very quick and basic set of lips. So we now have the nose and a mouth, or the nose and a mustache and a lower lip. Was we went up the side of the nose, we went into that eye channel, and then we took out a little piece. And we made that deeper than it was here or on the outside. So even though you got a divot in there, I think you need a flat, or not think, you need a flat plane if you're going to carve an eyeball up there on that top part. So you kind of use that roundness to go into that deep hole and then come on to the outside. But you can't make it exactly a straight cut. You gotta round up a little bit. If you want to take your gouge rather than your knife to clean up that area, you can do that too. But dig it deeper than it is on the center and the outside edge. So now you should have, a clean area in there. If yours was like mine, it was pretty rough from lifting the gouge up and taking out a little circular bit. But right now I've just got straight cuts on the bottom of the nose. I'm going to come in here with my gouge. And take out just a little circular cut. You got to watch that. You may break off the wing of your nose, so use care. I'm going in upside down.
What size?
Oh, what size? I'm still using that 1/4 inch 7. But you got to look at the size of your nose, Joe. It depends on the size of. So we've done a bunch of wood removal up there close to the eyes. So you can look at it again, and you may want to widen that channel. You may want to open it up a little bit. You got to have room, when you put in the dots for the eyes, you got one in the middle and then one on each side. That's what we're going to be carving. You want to make sure you got enough wood to carve the outside of the eye. So what I'm commenting on is, you see the dots in here where I put for the eye? That's the inside of the eye, that's the outside of the eye. I don't have much material up there to work with. I'm going to open that up a little bit so that I've got some place to sketch an eye and to draw the upper eyelid. I'll come back and take off the eyebrow and stuff later. And if I feel like it's too flat, I'll open that up, make the angle wider. All right, so I cut off my eye dots. I'm going to just put those back in. One on each side of the nose. It tells me where the eye was. Inside of my eye, outside of my eye. Left and right. Okay, so let's go ahead and sketch in where we're going to do the eye, the upper eyelid. It's going to look like sort of like a football. It's going to be elongated. It's half as tall as it is wide. The peak is going to be about 30% of the width. You can put the peak wherever you want, but I typically put the peak toward the inside of the face. As I come down and I sketch, I go past that outside dot and extend that line on down onto the cheek. Do that on both sides. Try to make your eyes symmetrical. All right, so we've got the plane established for our eye. You've got the shape drawn in. This is where now you go in straight cut. You're going to straight cut in, stop, stop cut, come on down past the center line there and just make that cut. Then we're going to go back and we're going to take out a sliver up here, but we stop right there at the bottom of the eyelid. We don't go on down at this point. We don't take out that sliver. So I'm taking my eye straight in, stop cut, straight in, around the eye, down past the crease, into the lower eyelid. Coming back, laying my knife on the side, just taking out a small sliver to roll that eyeball back under the upper eyelid. But stop at the crease. Both sides. We want to roll the eyeball. We've got it now. If you made those cuts, and then you can use your knife to kind of pare it on down so that you get rid of your sharp edges there, so that your eyeball is now shaped round from top to bottom. You want the top sticking out farther than the bottom. And you've just shaved it down from that cut you made so that it's smooth. So right now I've got it. All right, so right now I've got the sliver taken out, but I've kind of got a prominent edge right there. I'll just take my knife and basically little paring cuts, get rid of the sharp edges, give my eye the roundness top to bottom. If you want to make a stop cut on the bottom, you can do that so that you can pare down to that and pop out anything. That V should give you a pretty good guideline. Both sides, both eyes. Just shaping them up top to bottom. You got it smooth now, top to bottom. The top of your eyeball is farther out than the inside, or the bottom. That's what you want, otherwise it's a goofy looking eye. Now you got to get the roundness from left to right. So the way we did that was we made those triangular cuts at the inside and the outside. Going into the corners, we did that stop cut, laid our knife flat, took out a triangle, both on the inside, the outside, the left and the right eye. So those cuts. All right, so we're going on the inside corner. We're just going to take out a triangle there and a triangle there. Each one, just so that we wrap the eyeball back on each of the sides. Stop cut, lay my knife flat, take out a little triangle. Outside corner, same thing. Stop cut, a little triangular wedge, not a lot because you don't want your eyeball to fall out. Same thing, both eyes. Stop, and a triangle. So then take your piece and look at it from the side. You know, how's your eye look? Is it rounded so that you don't see the inside corner and you don't see the inside corner? You don't want your eye to be flat. You don't want your eye to be looking out cattywampus. So and if yours is like mine, you may find you don't have enough room on the top to put in that upper eyelid cut that we're going to make. So you can just take your knife and peel off a little more wood, open that channel up a little bit so you got room to work. We have cut in, we've taken the sliver out, we've taken out the corners. Now if you recall, to really make this eye have some roundness, that's when we're going to go back in and do this V cut in here to put in the upper eyelid. As you do that, it's really going to help show that there's roundness to the eyeball. So you can do that with you can do it with a V-tool, or you can do it with a knife. So I'm looking that I'm going to bring in an upper eyelid somewhere around in here, like that. And I'm going to bring in my upper eyelid like that. So you can start at the center and work your way to the outside. You can start at the center and work your way to the inside, or if your tool's good and you're good, you can make it in one cut. Hope you don't splinter out anything. But you just have better support of the wood if you go from the center out. You just kind of lay your V-tool on its side and let it give the curvature to that eyeball. So if you got that upper eyelid going with your V tool, you probably ought to go back down, take that little wedge out right here below the bottom eyelid so that the upper eyelid then overlaps the lower at the outside edge. That's just that little wedge there at the outside. The one where you extended the cut when you first started. So when we carved one eye, we didn't have any issues, but now we've got two eyes. They're coming together right there at the bridge of your nose and everything, and we're going to establish eyebrows. So I typically go from the inside of one eye and just take my gouge and I go up and take out some wood of where that brow is going to be. And I go to the other eye and I come up and take out some wood. That gets it away from that bridge, and it's going to help establish the eyebrows. You can also scoop that out above the eyebrows with your knife or a gouge, just to give a little more definition to the eyebrows. Depending on how much you want them to be prominent, you know. And this is kind of one reason I don't carve the hat and tassel and everything at the first, because I never know quite where the top of my head is going to end up, depending on where I end up putting the eyes and how much I push out the eyebrows and all. So. Just take a little wood out there that's going to move the forehead back. I wouldn't take it all the way up because you may want to put a hat on the guy yet. So. But you don't want your eyebrows to go together from one side of your face to the other. You're going to have a break in between them, and that's a good way to get it by coming right up there between the eyes and establishing the bridge. As long as you're working with the eyes and you're up there, why don't you go ahead and put in your crow's feet, you know, like 3 little cuts right there at the outside corner of the eye. Just bang, bang, bang. 3 is a good number. Odd numbers are good for setting up your cuts. All right, and then Joe wants to make sure we get these lower eyelids put in, or bags under the eyes and stuff like that. So take that smaller gouge. Gouge works better than a U-tool, V-tool, but either one will work. So what we're doing is, you know, we're going back in and we're going to cut this in here, which is just the lower bag, the bag under the eye basically, but it really gives the roundness to your eyeball. That you've got it on the top with your lids that you cut in and everything, but now your eyeball is round, so you got this part, and you got the cheekbone right in here. So most of the time I just go right in here and I do some cuts right along there with a U-gouge. I'll show you right here that. So to get that total eyeball in there, so this is not cutting in an eyeball, this is just above the cheekbone.
You need a V-tool or a U-tool?
I'm just using a small U. A number 11. Oh, just. And if you got some sharp edges there that on your cheek, you know, go ahead and round those off, smooth them into the nose. Just kind of do a sweeping cut in there so that everything flows together. You're going to take a small U and extend those wings up onto the nose a little bit farther to give a little more definition to the wings. Do that. So you put that one cut in there for the eye bags. If you want to put in some other wrinkles, perhaps on the cheek area, just use your V tool and some little light lines that cut in, aging characteristics. Anything that kind of gives you some shadows and character lines. I typically, you know, if I was doing my Santa Claus, I'd certainly put a cap on most of them. Some of them I'd. So if I'm going to put the cap on, and I'll just mention this so you keep it in mind, is you got to keep in remembering the over-unders and what you're going to do. So if I'm going to put the hat on this guy, I'll probably come in here and do a stop cut. And that's where the band is going to start. I usually have a fluffy white band at the bottom, so make the stop cut a little bit of an undercut just to bring it out from the face and the forehead. Notice I didn't go all the way over. Another stop cut here. Be the top of the band. So the reason you don't want to go over all the way is you probably want to come down the side here and put in some kind of a tassel, or so this would come down on the side. Make a turn. That's where I'll probably put in a ball of some kind. But the reason I didn't go all the way over here is because this tassel is going to be on the outside of the cap, and it comes on top of the fluff. So then you got to put the fluff underneath the tassel, so you just make a little stop cut and a little chip out of there so that it goes underneath, and then just set your tassel up here into the hat. Thing is, just keep in mind your over-under, so that when you're doing the hat, you take it underneath the tassel that's going to be there, if that's the case. So before you do any beard carving, let's talk about carving hair and the such. So typically with hair, a good way to start is with a larger gouge, something with, you know, a 9, 11, something like that. But you can make some deeper cuts. And with hair and everything, typically you like it to flow. You don't make anything in straight cuts. Everything is a curve. It's either a C or an S. And I get all my cuts in there. I make these deep cuts so that we're going to have some texture to it. Then you can come back, and if you want to add a little more depth to it, inside those cuts you can come in with a smaller gouge and actually add some deeper cuts. To that. And some of my favorites are going back with a knife and actually adding a few really deep cuts with a knife and then just coming in and taking out that sliver. It really, to me, gives the hair a lot of texture, depth, layers, so that when you paint or stain that, you've got some real chances to show shadows. And so when I get done with the carving too, I will go back and use some 3M, some of those nylon buffing pads that 3M makes. If you ever seen them in like floor cleaners? Yeah, it's like Scotch-Brite. Put that on my Dremel, make up a little mandrel of it, run it over the face, and it will get rid of a lot of the fuzzies. It will smooth out some of those lines that I didn't get smoothed out. If you use the brown, it's rough enough, it will take the wood away. They make a brown, a green, a maroon, and a white. I use the brown and just careful most of the time. If I use the maroon, sometimes it'll leave a color on the carving, and I don't like that. So.